Dodgers star pitcher Trevor Bauer vowing to fight an unprecedented 2-year suspension. The league announcing the move following an investigation into a woman's allegations of sexual assault. And now there's another accuser. ABC's Zareen Shah joins us from Dodger Stadium with more. Zareen, good morning.
Good morning. With this specific type of suspension is unprecedented, and now a third woman coming out publicly with accusations. Overnight, Bauer responding to them on camera. This morning, LA Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer, one of baseball's best, who brings in more than $30 million a year, speaking out after being suspended by the league for 2 years.
I'm addressing the story in the Washington Post.
The unprecedented move follows MLB's investigation into sexual assault allegations that came to light last year, as now the Washington Post reports a third accuser alleges she was abused by him years ago. Those allegations graphic. The Post reporting an unnamed woman from Columbus, Ohio, saying in part she was choked unconscious multiple times during a span of years while intimate with Bauer, and she alleges he didn't stop choking her after she asked him to. Overnight, Bauer taking to social media in a video statement over 4 minutes long to respond to the Post article calling the allegations false and defamatory.
As it relates to the Columbus woman, we had a casual and wholly consensual sexual relationship from 2013 to 2018. None of our meetings ever involved a single non-consensual, let alone illegal act.
Bauer had been previously accused by a different woman from Ohio and a woman from San Diego of beating and sexually abusing them. He was placed on paid administrative leave last July, pending the outcome of the investigation, which concluded on Friday.
This is the longest suspension that has ever been given out under the domestic violence policy. The message that Major League Baseball is sending is that this was a very serious matter.
Bauer claims the relationship with them was consensual, but denies the specific allegations, noting that no criminal charges had been filed against him, and a judge ruled in his favor to deny a restraining order requested by the San Diego woman.
After being suspended for 2 years without pay and MLB's longest ever active player suspension for violating its joint domestic violence policy, former Cy Young winner Trevor Bauer can get back on the mound. Now, Bauer was accused of punching and choking a woman unconscious, with the accuser claiming she sustained bumps, bruises, scratches, and other injuries. He also faced allegations made by other women. He was originally suspended for 324 games and had his punishment reduced to 194 games on Thursday, the league has announced. An independent arbitrator ruled that the Dodgers pitcher, who served 144 games of his suspension, will be reinstated immediately. That means Bauer will not have to miss any additional time, as his placement on the league's restricted list in the 2021 season will count toward the overall punishment. In a statement, the league wrote, quote, "While we believe a longer suspension was warranted, MLB will abide by the neutral arbitrator's decision, which upholds baseball's longest ever active player suspension for sexual assault or domestic violence." The Dodgers, who signed the 31-year-old pitcher in February of 2021, will now have 14 days to decide if they wish to reinstate the ace to their 40-man roster.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Nerd Chronicles with your hosts, Proud Lame, the socially awkward nerd, Christian Paul, is up in the motherfucking building. Now, a while ago, I was mainly discussing about the phenomena of, manosphere, greater manosphere, red pill, basically equaling MGTOW, basically equaling Boss Bay, with opposite sides of the spectrum. I basically discussed that sometime around maybe a week or two ago, if I'm not mistaken. I believe I discussed that. I probably recorded it definitely weeks ago, but I definitely published a video sometime within a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken, around the time of this recording. And again, like I stated with the boss babe phenomena, there's some of the cases on why a lot of women have that boss babe mentality are very legitimate. Again, stems from psychological trauma, stems from very deep damage traumas that they have felt that they have either experienced or the family experience that they mainly warned. As I said before. The same goes with the red pill and the MGTOW. in which you see socially awkward nerds like myself here, or even worse off in my position, get harshly rejected by women, or had like a deep traumatic experience with women in his life, that so much so that he literally got screwed over literally down to the core, to the point where much of his life and much of his opportunities are unfortunately almost ruined, right? Not only just that, it may not be him, but it could be other family members warning him. I personally have like a nanny actually warning me about like certain ordeals, and like how girls can actually just set up certain dudes with false rape charges and get them literally sent to prison. And like basically rape, we talking about EPAR, we talking about cookie abuse and all that stuff, false sexual assault charges, scrambled egg abuse. She has witnessed, she has heard some of her friends and some of the relatives mainly serve years in prison, wasting years of their life away over lies. You know what I mean? She told me about these things. She told me to be extremely careful on how some women operate and all that stuff, which led me into the manosphere world by digging into Kevin Samuels, and unfortunately digging into the deep, dark rabbit holes of Fresh and Fit, Coach Greg Adams, Entrepreneurs in Cars, SYSBM, BGS Igmore, all that other stuff that came by, the roommates in certain cases, Andrew Tate to a lesser extent, because I was in the deep depression myself, dealing with like stuff like this. And again, these types of traumas are some of the reasons why I see a lot of men literally join, the general manosphere or dig into the red pill MGTOW movement. One good example, right, is a situation that happened with Trevor Bauer, and how much of his career and his MLB career is mainly in jeopardy due to lies that one of his jump-offs, basically set him up for failure, right? Basically lied to him, basically lied about the sexual assault, lied about the rape charges and all this other stuff that nearly had Trevor down in the dumps, okay? Trevor was with this woman by the name of Lindsay Hill. They were having their little flings and everything, having their little scrambled eggs on, getting their rocks off, literally the whole 9 yards, until she makes this false accusation that she was actually sexually assaulted, involved in some sort of domestic violence charge, that MLB basically reviewed, even though there's no actual criminal charges that's actually placed against Trevor Bauer. The judge eventually dropped the cases basically against Trevor, and he was an innocent man, as that's actually proven. Yet, MLB suspended him initially for 2 seasons, right? He appealed, Trevor appealed, and that suspension later got reduced to a season. And unfortunately, the Dodgers, which he was actually playing for at the time, ended up waiving Trevor, due to the fact that they fear about the backlash coming, even though he hasn't been criminally charged. Charges have been dropped against him, and he has not been, actually he has been sued civilly, and basically countersued, in which, Trevor attempted to actually sue, the trifling woman for all the stuff and all the reputation, the fames, that all the stuff that actually basically ruined his name and his likelihood, as well as his image, to try and make sure she rails that woman. But eventually they get settled with like no money exchange and everything, and it's like literally a true sin and a shame. And we will actually be digging into the whole ordeals on how the whole situation went down and why this psycho woman is a legitimate liar. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the craziness that you see right here. Oh my goodness.
Next victim, star pitcher for the Dodgers. A text Lindsay Hill sent to a friend before she ever even met me. "What should I steal?" she asked another, in reference to visiting my house for the first time. The answer? Take his money. So how might that work?
Y'all see this shit right here? Oh my God. Oh my God, man. And you wonder why a lot of men have literally jumped into the deep, dark rabbit hole into the manosphere. Because of damaged women like this, because of dealing with women that literally have nothing to lose and are too damn lazy actually trying to go out and get it on their own, actually trying to build their own shit. Women like this, women like Lindsay Hill, all right? that want to chose to actually try to leech off someone that has all that money, have all that success. The red pill always try to preach that men build, women move in. This is a classic example of a woman literally moving the fuck in. Okay? When you show up your cheese too much, you're going to end up with rats. Guaranteed. I'll tell you personally, take it from me, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Because even if you try to apply your job and, you get the 6-figure income that you dream to have and all that stuff, a lot of things could go awry. You could get laid off or you could get fired. They could have you just being on watch on what you say when you leave work. All that other shit. You know what I'm saying? And you got fucking vultures that do everything they can to literally sabotage your growth whenever they don't even get their way. Whenever shit hits a fan and you don't do what they say, here they come start acting out, giving you literally a false rape charge or a false sexual assault charge. All right? Go look at the situation with Ezekiel Elliott and Tiffany Thompson when Ezekiel was at Ohio State and Tiffany was with him at the time of their freshman year together. Tiffany cried out rape and everything. It was proven to literally be a lie, but yet NFL and Dallas Cowboys chose to suspend Zeke for literally 6 games this season. Oh, man. It's not about morality. It's not about integrity. It's all about preserving the money of the business and making sure they're actually cutting loose ends when all these feminist organizations come by that, have all these organizations all hooked in, all the other major organizations that they had hooked in with like beverage companies, TV companies, all that other stuff, really had their ass down to the brim. It's all about saving their own ass and saving their own company's ass for survival and money at the end of the day when it all comes down to it. Never about morality. And you will see this later on in the video.
I'm going to his house Wednesday, she said. I already have my hooks in. You know how I roll. Then, after the first time we met, net worth is 51 mil, she said. Bitch, you better secure the bag.
Oh, my fucking
but
God.
How is she going to do that? Need daddy to choke me out, she said, being an absolute whore to try to get in on his 51 million.
What a sick bitch. What a sick bitch. And you wonder why the judge dropped the case?
Read another text. Then, after the second time we met, former Padres pitcher Jacob Nix told her, you got to get this bag. I'll give you $50,000, Lindsay replied. Her AA sponsor asked her at one point, do you feel a tiny bit guilty? Not really, she replied. Since then, her legal team has approached me multiple times about coming to a financial settlement. But as I have done since day one, I refuse to pay her even a single cent.
Salute.
In August of 2021, Lindsay Hill's claims were heard in court. And during those legal proceedings, critical information was deliberately and unlawfully concealed from me and my legal team.
But yes, he hasn't even served a day in jail. And the prosecutors weren't fully aggressive and actually criminally charging her, nor for her to actually serve some time. And, the Blaze allowed to literally come through to actually share her side of the story. And she got like her little 15 seconds of fame, but only to backfire literally up in the fucking face. That bitch deserves to be in jail right now.
Information like this video, which was taken by Lindsay Hill herself the morning after she claimed she was brutally attacked, emotionally traumatized, and desperate to get away from me.
What a attention, ho.
And now we have the metadata, so there can be no dispute. It was taken mere minutes before she left my house on the morning of May 16th, 2021, without my knowledge or consent.
Disgusting.
In it, you can see her lying in bed next to me while I'm sleeping, smirking at the camera without a care in the world, or any marks on her face. I think it paints a pretty clear picture of what actually happened the evening of May 15th and why the video was originally concealed from us. After hearing the evidence available to her, Judge Diana Gold-Saltman found that Lindsay Hill had misled the court. She found her claims to be materially misleading. She denied her request for a domestic violence restraining order, and she found that no sexual assault or non-consensual conduct took place. Now, some of you might not know about restraining order hearings. I know I didn't, but I've since learned that it's extremely rare for a request for a restraining order to be denied because the standard of proof that you need to obtain one is extremely low.
Right.
So you can make of that what you will. The fact is, I was never arrested. I was never charged with a crime, and I won the only legal proceeding that took place without my side of the story even being heard.
But yet, Trevor Bauer literally gets initially suspended for 2 seasons and then later reduced to 1. Just because his side wasn't even heard as well, but yet he's not criminally charged with a crime of domestic violence. Let that stuff sink in.
And most importantly, as I've said from day one, I never sexually assaulted Lindsay Hill, or anyone else for that matter. So I sued her, which prompted her to countersue me. Quite frankly, regardless of the outcome in court, I've paid significantly more in legal fees than Lindsay Hill could ever pay in her entire life.
You dealing with a bitch who got nothing to lose, cut off and ghost her. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with women like this, cut their ass off and ghost them. Do not ever speak to them again, and learn how to better some subtle social cues whenever they deal with some shit like this. Because in the beginning, yeah, they may seem alright. Yeah, they'll definitely treat you good, probably for like the couple months in ahead, and they even like follow through eventually, literally through marriage. But when you got stuff like this, they'll try to pull some fast ones, unbeknownst to your knowledge, when you least expect it. And that's how they can literally get you. You know what I mean? Now, if they actually treat you consistently with respect, then that's fine. But they actually try to pull some sneaky stuff and give you some false charges based on your knowledge. If they try to pull something like that, run. Okay? Defend your integrity, defend your image, defend all that stuff with your life. If you knew you did nothing wrong, if you knew you actually didn't hurt her whatsoever, and there's actually visual evidence that's actually posted by her or any other videos that show that no violence has been done or no form of sexual assault or even rape has been done. Even even recorded text, even recorded audio, text as well, letting know you had like a wonderful time. That could definitely still do, even though it's not guaranteed. That could be used in court to literally try to defend yourself in any way possible, right? Sin is shame how messy false rape charge and false sexual assault charge could be. It's like so messy because the burn is so screwed up, but I'll discuss all that stuff in the end.
And I knew that would be the case going in, but the lawsuit was never about the money for me. It was the only way for me to obtain critical information to clear my name.
Okay.
The discovery process in that lawsuit recently concluded, at which point Lindsay Hill's legal team again came to us with another proposal to resolve the case. This time, however, they weren't seeking any money from me. Having received much of the information that had been hidden from us, a small portion of which I've referenced here, I was willing to agree to the terms proposed. Both parties would drop their respective lawsuits, and neither of us would pay either side any money. I also retained my right to speak publicly about the case, something I have not been at liberty to do since June of 2021.
Good.
So, as of today, both lawsuits have been settled. Now, over the last 2 years, I've been forced to defend my integrity and my reputation in a very public setting. But hopefully this is the last time I have to do so.
Thank God.
As I'd prefer to just remain focused on doing my job, winning baseball games and entertaining fans around the world. So today, I'm happy to be moving on with my life.
Amen. And good for him. But this is a very, 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 very sad situation for not just with Trevor Bauer and all the false rape victims that got hit, but this is also can be very traumatic towards the actual rape victims, the actual sexual assault victims, the actual domestic violence victims that are female, right? And you demean their name, and you make things much more difficult for them to literally actually just come by to the authorities and literally try to press charges against those accusers. You know what I mean? Because you don't know how messy the burden of proof is. You don't know if they're actually going to have the same sense and they get fooled again. And they have like their lucky bunch. It's because of fuck faces like Lindsay Hill. Because of trifling bitches like Lindsay Hill that pull this type of mess just because she wants to be a gold digger and try to leech off his money and drain him off and literally try to blackmail him just so she could go for greed. You know what I mean? Where are all your mainstream feminist organizations that are actually publicly denouncing the actions of Lindsay Hill in order to actually encourage like more women actually to speak up and speak out based on their whole abuse? Like, where the fuck y'all at? Where y'all at? Where y'all out literally denouncing the situation that Lindsay Hill has done? Now that, everything is cleared and Trevor Bauer has been cleared to go, but yet Lindsay hasn't been charged with like any false rape charges by the judge or even by the DA, Where are all the mainstream feminist organizations at literally trying to announce Lindsay Hill up in the public eye? why isn't MLB or even Magic Johnson, who owns the Dodgers, why aren't they giving Trevor Bauer a public apology right in front of the public eye? Why aren't they doing that? I just want to know, right? And notice, when I took a look into like the whole Blaze clip with Sarah Rodriguez, I forgot his name. If I mistakenly misplaced your name or actually say your name wrong, I truly apologize. But you see the host of her show literally surgically cook that trifling bitch, Lindsey Hill, literally down to a T with precision and articulacy. You know what I mean? Based on what really goes on, so he diced up her arguments, he diced up her claims really down to the core so that she has like no leg to literally stand on to the fact that she's under heat.
More after you and Trevor met up. Net worth is $51 million, to which your friend responds, "Bitch, you better secure that bag." Your text, "Need daddy to choke me out," being an absolute whore to try to get in on his $51 million. You say this wasn't a setup. How can you expect anyone to believe that?
That's a great question. I really appreciate you having me on to even have this conversation. Obviously, there's a lot going on around this, so I really appreciate people who are asking questions about it. The first thing I want to say is, I think that Trevor did this intentionally with the text messages and how he framed this video. There's several things in it that are not correct. And I just want to start out by saying, it's so valid for people to question those text messages. But the root of the problem here is that he is presenting this as one conversation, when in reality he had thousands of messages to choose from, took those, made it look sequential, which it was not. There is no combined screenshot of those things going on one after the other. And as I said last night as well, there's no text message that ever exists. Otherwise he would have, put it out there, combining, anything about a setup through rough sex, finances all in one. Those were handpicked, and they were from multiple different conversations all before we met up. And I think that the video in general doesn't even talk about what actually happened between us two, which is what would have come out during a jury trial. These were all messages that happened before. And then, of course, the video is so valid as well for people to ask questions about. But I do think that video was entirely misleading. He also references the restraining order hearing, which people also have questions about. He says that he was cleared of any wrongdoing, which is actually incorrect. In our civil case, the judge had actually ruled that he had not been cleared of any wrongdoing, and that was a federal court judge. So I want to get to the domestic violence restraining order hearing as well, but I mean, so you're saying that it's misleading because you're admitting that you did talk about rough sex and wanting rough sex. You did talk about him needing to choke you out. You did talk about stealing his money, but it's misleading because he put them together in the same video as if you had said it in the same conversation when in fact it was separate conversations, correct? That's why it's misleading? Correct, and as well as not showing, the messages that occurred after where it discusses it strictly in the term of, being a baseball wife or something like that.
Or something like that. Okay. I'm just curious if you know, like, the statistical likelihood of you texting your friend premeditated texts saying you wanted him to choke you out and steal his money, take his money, and him actually choking you out, and those two things not being related.
It's a really, really valid question. And like I said, I think you would need to look through each conversation. Those were handpicked. But I can, like I said last night, completely own the fact that those were overly sarcastic, overly inappropriate to some may seem. And it does give off that impression about clout chaser and totally attention-seeking behavior. But I just feel that they have, nothing to do with what actually took place. But it does cause a lot of questions as to why I was, seeking Trevor out. But at the end of the day, there was nothing about a setup with violence and all of this stuff and getting financial gain. It was strictly, a 25 or however old I was at the time, girl trying to get attention from those things and phrasing it in a sarcastic way before we met.
Okay, so I've got a couple other questions on that.
And it literally shows, man. It literally shows, Shame on you, Lindsey Hill, for showing this disdain towards all the actual rape survivors and sexual assault survivors, but I really demean them Just you want to be selfish. You want to try and get it back for yourself. And you wonder why. Again, a lot of folks have joined the deep dark rabbit hole of MGTOW and the red pill because of shit like this. This shit right here. Alright? This is going to be the backdrop of what I'm actually going to be discussing when it comes to, men trying to actually self-improve and the practical way to actually how to do so. I understand, gentlemen, I fully understand why you have all these concerns with Boss Bays. But pounding, going button heads with feminists and all that stuff ain't really the answer. It's getting your mental health in order. It's getting your sanity in order. It's actually getting yourself and getting your self-worth in order so that you don't have to really worry about all that stuff and all that outside noise coming up your way, whether the woman's a feminist or not. Learn how to build your own standards, learn how to respect people, learn how to be practical and be fair with people, so that, all that good stuff will be able to come out of you as long as you thoroughly sniff. So to accuse some women, as long as you know how to thoroughly vet women properly and know whether or not she's fully healed, mainly healed as much as possible, so that you don't have to be in the same rabbit hole, unfortunately, as Trevor Bauer, which I will be digging further on in the next video to come. Juicy. MGTOW definition: men going their own way. Get the bag, homeboy. Money over bitches. Pump some iron. Compete against the next man. Compete against the best man. Avoid women completely. Women will eventually cheat on you in due time. Marriages aren't worth it. Divorce is extremely pricey in the Western world based on women leaving you high and dry. That's the definition of MGTOW. Solution: handle your traumas by going to a psychiatrist or a professional therapist to try and ease your ills so that you'll be able to deal with a plan on how to make sure that you'll be able to actually officially rehab your mental health. Juicy.